It has come to my attention that the best and only way to engage with Warhammer 40,000 is to completely disregard any officially published history, lore, or knowledge of the universe. With that in mind, here are my 3 new beautiful sons. This is Bogon Dansteel. He grew up shooting ducks on a farm, and anytime he annihilates an enemy of the Imperium, he cannot help but subconsciously say the phrase, quack. This is Ron Mancino. He does not believe that New York exists because that would imply the existence of Old York. And this is Anthony Sirakis. He saw a chainsword when he was 5 and decided to make that his entire personality. He is now 48. Also, I don't give a shit if you think Space Marines are overrated. They're the only starter set that comes with paints and a brush. Well, it's either that or Necrons, but they look like they smell. It is with great pride that I can announce the completion of my first ever squad of Space Marine Terminators. As such, please welcome the 5 newest canonical characters to the Warhammer 400,000 lore. This is Radigan Huck, who as a child had a dream where he was promised great power if he became a Chaos Space Marine. Unfortunately, like most dreams, he couldn't quite remember it when he woke up, and thought he needed to become an Ultramarine instead. This is Troy Leguizamo, who only learned how to use a power fist thinking he needed it to use and hold bigger guns. When he learned that wasn't how things worked, he was very disappointed, but too embarrassed to admit his mistake. This is Big Rig Mike, who believed that Space Marines got their extra organs not through surgical implants, but through consuming them from corpses. It is unknown whether or not he attempted this before becoming an Ultramarine. This is Ratatat Ricky. As a teenager, his girlfriend said she thought orcs were a little sexy, and this psychologically changed him forever. And this is First Captain Farallon Stone. He raised 7 beautiful sons to adulthood and thought, hey, if I can corral a bunch of idiot children, I can definitely lead some Space Marines. He was right. Let this serve as a reminder that a family can be anything, even 5 dads. I have once again fabricated a new squad of Adeptus Astarian Spaced Marines, which means it's time to introduce the next 5 canonical Games Workshop certified characters into the Warhammer 400,000 lore. This is Samson Sandringham. He joined the military to get away from his siblings, who he hated, but they all joined the military as well. So obviously he had to join the super military and become a Space Marine. This is Rod McLeod. His father let him shoot a bolt pistol when he was 7 and it completely destroyed his eardrums. Fixing the problem with augments and gene seed was cheaper than private health insurance. This is Hunter Hurstbridge, a master sniper who took up the heavy bolter to, as he puts it, master every weapon in the world. He simply isn't good at using anything else, a fact which has cost hundreds of lives. This is Sam Marino, who's basically that boring person at every office job whose hobbies include brunch and watching shows, proving that not even being a Space Marine can make everybody cool. This is Hardened Vex. It was his sister's dream to become an Astartes Space Marine, but knowing that the Emperor deemed such a thing impossible, he decided to take up the mantle instead in honor of her. His mind and personality are entirely unsuited to a life of war, and the idea that he's honoring his sister in some way is truly the only fact that keeps him going. His sister would go on to become an accomplished captain in the Imperial Guard, but it's been over 100 years since the two spoke to each other. Among his personal affects is a sealed note from Terran High Command, which he has refused to open for over 1 century. He knows too well that were he to open it and read what it says, his mind would break as much as his heart. Yeah, that's right, I can make these sad too. Fuck you. Many people have been quick to tell me that my custom Space Marine lore is quote-unquote non-canonical or simply too silly. With that in mind, I've decided to make a pivot to a faction that uncharacteristically allows Warhammer fans to have a good time. The Orcs. This is Pots and Pans, an orc who learned everything he knows about torture from the study of human texts. These books turned out to be cookbooks, basically making him a big green version of the dwarf from Dungeon Meshi. This is Pincushion, who got his name for obvious reasons. When his comrades don't feel like holding a knife or a war trophy, they'll simply stab it into the back of his flesh, knowing full well it'll be there when they go to check on him later. This is Warboss Wreck Havoc, spelled the way you think it is. He's never lost a hand-to-hand fight with his iconic bomber hammer, but he's also never fought one with it either. Despite this, he's confident that he can win 100% of the fights he wages with this weapon. Technically, he's correct. It appears that my loyal viewers have found some entertainment with my custom orc lore, and now the good people are yearning for more. Fortunately for you, more is a trademark of orcish physiology. More bodies, more violence, more Dakar. This is Kingpin, whose original war boss once bore a mighty iron crown. Kingpin decided to one-up him with a mighty crown of his own, and he can only assume the war boss killed himself out of shame for having the inferior headpiece. In reality, the crown made him blind and lost, and he ended up accidentally wandering into the wrong orc clan, which is why he never saw the war boss, or anybody else, ever again. This is Jumper, who's a staunch advocate for replacing the orcs' reliance on promethium with green energy. Which of course is just regular promethium with little bits of orc ground into it, because orcs is the best, and make good fast juice go better. This is Warboss Wreck Havoc, who we met in the last video, but who we didn't meet was Todd. Todd is unusually creative for a Gretchen, and likes to fantasize about who his enemies are and what they might have been during their lives. This is of course moments before blasting them to pieces with the skull-mounted machine gun he's delightfully dubbed the Head Cannon.